Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome everyone. I hope we'll have some attendance online shortly. Hello. Okay, let's begin. Welcome to Wisdom and the Enneagram. This is a club concerning itself and centered around learning about the Enneagram, its components, and how we can practice these as everyday psychospiritual thoughts and contemplations in our modern, postmodern environment. So we'll begin with our acknowledgement of country. Wisdom and the Enneagram acknowledges, in affiliation with UniSQ, and pays respect to the traditional, I'll try to speak a bit more slowly, custodians and elders of this nation, past, present, and emerging. Further, we affirm the continuation of the cultural, spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. As a note, our National Mourning Day is this next Thursday, 22nd of September. Thanks, Zach. Okay, an exciting development. I will be presenting a recent partnership with an up-and-coming networking app called Group Tag. Our partner Drew doesn't look like he'll be able to make it today. He's a busy man, and that's okay. I'm here to fill in. So this is a new app being developed down in Melbourne by these guys, Group Tag, that will allow the club community to keep in touch much more simply, more quickly, and efficiently. So if you can go into your Play Store, or I'm not sure what it is for other phones, and should be easy to download and create an account. So let's get on Group Tag and do that, so we can have a stronger connection as a club. What's that, Zach? Or the App Store. Thank you, Apple Man. This is Zach, our producer down in Warwick, and a good friend of mine. So he's helping us down that way. Thanks, Zach. Okay. Today, I want to try something that I've been sort of mulling over in my mind how I would make it work. And as it is, it's still an imprecise product, and we'll probably keep building on it. But I make films here at the university. Well, I'm learning to make films, and I wanted to explore, to use a cliched verb, how in our modern world, the narratives and stories that we interact with, we experience them through film. We no longer have oral traditions. Religious traditions are largely even phased out for film, to the point where film is almost this religious experience where we see archetypes, characters, and storylines of personality playing out. So that's what today is going to be about. And there'll be time for questions and discussion afterwards. Okay, the focus today will be on type 4, often referred to in the relevant literature as the romantic, introspective individualist, romantic individualist. The one that's most noted for wanting to be the special one. I have a connection with this type, not strongest in me or primary, but it's certainly features. So we'll run through some things on type 4, and yes, that is Megamind. Stay tuned for why that's relevant. Enneagramic fluidity, the term that I'm talking about today, is, to my knowledge, an original term that I will use to refer broadly to the transformative structure of the Enneagram as a psychospiritual personality system and a symbol for holistic spiritual practice. Today's session is about Enneatype 4, or just type 4 for short, commonly known as the introspective individualist or romantic. Characteristics and motivations of type 4. We'll probably keep building on this in a later session. So, a brief profile overview of type 4. Strong between type 3 to its right and type 5 to its left, it is situated within the heart or feelings center, where it represents as a personality the negative melancholic response to or image of original or essential disconnect. This is a fundamental, archetypal, really baseline concept within Enneagramic literature. A somewhat vague concept, for anyone who's not spent a lot of time in that kind of an environment or doing that kind of reading. It alludes to the Christ-human eternal bond, ignorance and corruption, desperate for enlightenment and perfection, as in Buddhism and Jainism, and a literal myriad of culturally diverse visions of spirituality all across the world and through all times. So we won't have time today to go through the complete profile of type 4, but some things we will touch on. Motivations. This is understood as an emotional passion bonded with a mental fixation, and that's true for all types. So in all this passion is a longing, a deep sense for something other that is lacking in the self. And the fixation, the way that sort of creates a feedback loop with the passion by causing the personality to focus on this lack, is melancholy, expressed as melancholy, a residing in negative sort of sinking emotions that affirm to the four that, yes, I am lacking this thing, and my desperate longing is confirmed and affirmed and validated because of this melancholy that I'm feeling. The character, that includes everything from trait structures to defense mechanisms, etiology, that's the biological and physiological causation, the actual how did this personality, how were they born into the world with these particular features, and then general and existential psychodynamics. But we won't have time to go through all of that today at length. There's lots to read. I recommend and highly encourage everyone, as always, to do their own research. There are variants, so the idea that we all feature three basic human instincts of self-preservation, social navigation, and the sexual transmitting through time and space, wanting to project ourselves instinct. Strategies, ways of coping in life and manipulating for survival, and then these quite lofty, but nevertheless necessary and essential to understand as we progress in our personal development, whatever that may look like. Virtue, the virtue for type 4, that's coming to a place of balance and health. It looks like equanimity and an emotional balance and an ability to self-regulate, which of course all people should try for and be in community with others to try to figure out what that looks like. But it's particularly resonant for type 4 due to their somewhat turbulent passion and fixation. And then the whole idea is origin. I can briefly touch on that now, but essentially that is talking about what we just looked at just before, about this feeling of this essential original disconnect from God, the other, the universe, and the whole idea is realizing that me as myself right now, no matter how I change and fluctuate through life, I'm always one with whatever that center, spiritual center, may look like for us as individuals. But more on that later. Thank you, Zach. So a bit more on the motivations. Oh, no, I'm struggling to read this now. Sorry, so I'll have to remember what I wrote. Longing. So experiences. I would like to get my laptop actually, sorry. Pardon me, just a moment. Getting my laptop so I can read this. Experiences a profound, so longing experiences a profound and often overwhelming sense of longing, desire, sadness, passion, for the before and beyond the other. It may not be experienced, so it may not be such a big concept for the depending on the particular structure of the person and their background. But these are some of the terms that get thrown around in the relevant Enneagramic literature. Okay, bring up the PowerPoint now. And melancholy, that's the fixation, the mental component of the motivations, the what drive the superficial personality. Dwelling on feelings of shame, self-criticism, can even look like self-loathing in extreme unhealth. Yeah. we have some nods here. This is also ringing true for me as I read all of this out loud. Also remembering that someone with a 4-component writing this, I'm trying to be true to the 4 experience. I'm really struggling to read this, so as soon as this opens, we'll be on better footing. Stream health. Yeah, cannot read that. Here we go. Yes, that's right. I want you to close it. That's why I asked you to open it. Oh dear. It's not. I don't recommend taking out your problems on technology. Don't follow my example. Don't follow my example in that regard. I can't read this. So through. I think I wrote. There we go. Something about trying to escape through imagination, withdrawal, and supersizing the feelings to what would you say, to reinforce the self-referential world that the 4 lives in. Their stream of reference that they use to anchor themselves in the identity that they create and they nurture for themselves. Oh, yay, here we go. I apologize to everyone for the way it's turned up on the screen. Thankfully, now I can read this for myself. Sustains moods through imaginative escapism and withdrawal. Looks within and beyond the horizon of mundane existence for an antidote to their chronic sadness and the realization of their grand dreams. Character. So we have touched on this just before. We won't go through all of these today, but I would like to say some things about trait structures. Oh, hang on just a bit, Zach. Yeah, just go. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll move on to trait structures now. Sorry, I'm now coordinating between 2 screens. All good to move on. Thanks, Zach. Me. Okay, so according to Claudio Naranjo, he's a Brazilian, South American anyway, teacher. I don't know that he's still with us, but he's done a lot to develop the Enneagram system from its ancient to its contemporary place in the world. And I have taken this from his great book. I have it as a PDF, Character and Neurosis. So see that for a deep dive. You can find it since he's, I do believe it's beyond copyright. I could be wrong, in which case I'm in trouble, but I don't think so. So see Character and Neurosis for a deep dive. So some trait structures of the type 4, any type 4 character. Envy. This is fundamental to the neurosis another way of saying personality in overdrive, where the superficial personality is all that's identified with. It's fundamental to the neurosis of 4 and synonymous to longing with negative connotations, because I believe that all humans do long for this more, this other, this beyond to some degree. Poor self-image is another big one. A feeling of void in the self, generating envy, notions of inadequacy, self-denigration, and so on. Emotionality, as in 2 and 3, the other types in the heart and feelings emotional center. A highly developed plastic capacity to role play, modulating the expression of feelings. And it looks like in 4, a particular bent towards intensity. Competitive arrogance. This one is, I've focused on this one because it's relevant to our character in today's film. It's not necessarily that everyone has a particularly arrogant streak, but there is an element of this in the 4 psychology. Sometimes exists along with and in compensation for a bad self-image, presents as the victimized role of misunderstood genius. Again, I'm as someone with 4 writing this, I do this stuff. This is me. Not going to sing the Greatest Showman song, but I could. Thanks, Zach. Apologize, I'm still talking too quickly. I'll try to slow down. Yeah, thank you. See, that's a 4 thing, like, make the little reference. So, this is the film part. If you haven't seen Megamind, I'm disappointed. No, I'm not. But intense, emotional, misunderstood genius. Megamind is a prime example of our Enneatype 4, and Megamind is a superb film, said another 4. So check that one out. That's relevant to what we're talking about here, and it's fun. If you haven't seen it, well, I'm sorry if this doesn't make sense. Okay, so part of the Enneagram structure is that all types have connecting lines to the other types represented on the symbol. So 4 is their neighbors are 3 and 5, the number directly before and directly after it. And I'll do my best to explain this here without the symbol actually in front of me. So 4 is line to 3. If 4 is the romantic, the introspective individualist, 3 is the successful performer, the positive image with a disconnect actually from experiencing the emotions. It wants to ignore those to present and exist as a positive, effective, achieving image in the world. So for Naranjo, he worded it as 4 satellites around 3, and 5 is more of a neighbor. So 4's lines rep to 3, to this successful image, represents their craving for attention, admiration, and success, especially as a special, uniquely gifted individual. In the process of integration, that's the more positive side of the process of that we learn about through the Enneagram, becoming healthy and complete, or as close to it as we can achieve. The line to 3 represents activity and progress measured by realistic, that is positive, standards of achievement. Understandably, Metro Man in Megamind, again, I'm sorry if you haven't seen this film, he represents an Enneatype 3 personality. So it's interesting to see we actually have a visual representation, even though the film was not directly about Metro Man, of what this 3, hey, look at me, I'm great, there's nothing I can't do, persona is actually something that Megamind has going on himself. Thank you, Zach. And the line to 5. Oh, yes, there are references there. Wow, I'm going to finish this way quicker than I thought. Never mind. This is what happens when you don't organize ahead of time. Criminal genius. Oh, we're not there. Where do we go? There we go. Megamind's line to 5. So now it's 4 satelliting. 3 is a satellite to 4, or the other way around, and 5 is a neighbor. So the 4's line to 5 represents their thirst for artistic and intellectual refinement. They turn inward to focus on improving their minds and honing their talents for wit, self-expression, and originality, as well as creating an interesting conceptual realm, verging at times, in particular people, on a collection of esoterica. Megamind harnesses the full potential of his mind to devise grand plans of villainy and mayhem. Remember his decision to become the baddest boy of them all, his nurtured self-image throughout the first half of the film. And golly, that's actually wraps us up. There will be time for discussion. Jess, did you have questions? I realized how quickly I talk now. Is there anything we should go back over? Oh, that's the 3 and the 5. That's a great question. Okay, so if 3 is image, is performance, is keep doing what needs to be done to get through life effectively and successfully. Then 5 is the withdrawn, cerebral. I want to detach from the world so I can understand it through a collection of facts, information, and feeling a sense of competency and mastery over my environment by understanding it mentally. So if 4 has 5 as a neighbor, 5 also has 4 as a neighbor, as well as 6. So each type, the neighbors are the number before and after it, as well as other lines which represent higher levels of growth, but we won't go into that now. So 3, it exists in the heart center, the feeling center, but what you'll come to notice is and understand is in each center, body, heart, and mind, the type in the center is understood to be the most disconnected from its center. So for 3, that means, yes, it's in this feeling, this heart image is another big one for 2, 3, and 4. It's all about the image that they, see themselves to be and that they present to others. 3 is actually the most disconnected from true, authentic, true authentic activity in the world, because it is so focused on just being a successful image. Think about Taylor Swift back in the day before she started to come into her own and make some decisions for herself. Pop Idol, just keep continually producing successful albums. But then we see, as it came out in the media, we see, she actually doesn't have it all together. She's going through a lot of emotional turbulence. I saw it in that documentary of hers on Netflix. I forget the name of it now. So that's 3. And then 5, quite removed from 3, it's now in the head center, still having 4 as a neighbor. So it still has that connection to the emotionality, the intensity, the wanting to be original. But it expresses this as just think of scientists. Think of someone like Stephen Hawking, Einstein. They exist as their mind, as far as they're concerned. They're disconnected from their body. They want to be detached from the world. They want to accumulate a body of concepts. They want to come to, rather than experiencing life directly, they want to come to conclusions about reality in their mind. So 4 has both of these going on, and that can be negative, and it can also start to be a process of a healthy integration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, because I was always wondering, because I'm in the heart, whatever it's called.
Centers. They call them the centers of intelligence.
Yeah, and so I personally feel I've also, I don't know anything about Australia, but I've got a Capricorn moon.
Yeah, brilliant.
And so I always feel detached, and I have trouble with expressing my feelings and emotions.
Yep. And
so that's why I was it's feeling the heart feeling thing, but I have trouble with that. But that makes sense that it's an image thing.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah, image. Image is another big word for the heart center. I've also heard it worded the body center. So the heart center there's this preoccupation with who am I? The head center was this preoccupation with what am I, existentially, physically, what do I have? That's right. 5, 6, and 7 in the head. 8, 9, and 1 up the top represent the body, the more yeah, we'll go with that. The gut is another way of describing it, and then the 2, 3, and 4, this heart, emotional, image center. So there's the who am I, what am I, and then when we come to relax back into our body, into our physicality, and just allow ourselves to be in the world, as difficult as that is, what we experience is just that I am. An experience of I am. Not a preoccupation with who am I, trying to, focus on this, perfecting this image, or what am I. There's this relaxing into that I am. That's sort of this. Forget how we got there now, but I think that was relevant to what you were asking. But and yes, certainly astrology, everything. It's all connected. This is as far as my research informs me, is the most comprehensive system because it does incorporate all these other systems, and it is just so, as far as we know, old and just developed through so many different systems. So astrology would be, I'll probably find as I go along books that show links between this and astrology, and yeah. Do you have anything else that you wanted? That's fine. No, that's okay. I'm just trying to cram stuff in there because I'm realizing how quickly we got through this. I think what we'll do is I might create a part 2 to this, because there are more components of the 4 that we haven't touched on. It's lines 2, 1, and 2. It's more. I don't know that if I'm using. Right. Okay.
And that's why I'm like focusing on other people and I should be concentrating on myself.
Yeah. And that's also related to image, right? Like this nurture the image, move to others to validate that the image.
But then it's like self-destructive because then you want to like do stuff to other people all the time. But
yeah.
That's when you really should be like focusing on yourself, but that's when you go away.
Because the image is in danger. I need to go, reinforce the image by helping others. Look at me. I'm full of substance. I'm full of life. Right, exactly. So we'll come back to these things in a later session, I think, because that's true, yes. And then there is also this integrated process of where all these lines start to come together, and we move towards away from out of our little personality box and towards this sort of spaciousness as a person, to just be in the world and just be doing the things that we love to do and that we know that are right to do. So that's what I'll try to expand on in a part 2, I think. But other than that, thank you all those watching online or the recording on YouTube, which will become shortly. And thank you for our in-person attendees. That will be all for now. I'll see you next time for a part 2. Thanks, Zach.